Now, if you haven't been living under a rock, you will know that Dave Rubin had an absolute nightmare the other day on his Jubilee debate with a bunch of young Democrats. And in this clip, we see Will Chamberlain. This is an individual who is pro the Iran war as well as pro Donald Trump. He's walked onto Piers Morgan Uncensored and he said, "I'm better than Dave Rubin and I can handle these guys." And it doesn't go the way that it is that he planned. As usual, let's watch the clip in full and then I'm going to give you guys my thoughts towards the end.
The first thing is about the Iran war. Rubin tried to support his central claim that wokeism did more damage to America than Trump ever did. And he did this by justifying Trump's war in Iran. Let's take a listen. Well, Will Chamberlain, I mean, you've tried to defend the indefensible war in Iran on my show several times. So present a better case for why it's been such a thumping triumph, given last time I checked, the slain Ayatollah has been replaced by his more radical son. The IRGC remains firmly in control of the country. There's been no popular uprising. The Strait of Hormuz remains completely in the control of the Iranians. And every time anyone tries to threaten them, they fire off rockets at their Gulf state neighbours, causing untold havoc whilst holding the entire world to an economic barrel. I mean, where's the big win, Will?
No, I don't think we're winning the ceasefire at this point. I think that President Trump needs to stop dithering and escalate. And so I think that at this point you have to look and say that the ceasefire hasn't been working. It's weakening our alliances with Israel. We're creating tension there. We're creating tension with the Gulf allies, I think, and we're not achieving anything meaningful with the ceasefire. So I think it's time to escalate. But I want to answer the sort of 2 points you highlighted from that clip that seems sort of, I think, kind of bizarre and poorly founded. One argument was apparently that because 200 children died, that therefore the war is a disaster. Well, then, if that's the metric we're using, why is it not a disaster that we didn't intervene and save the 40,000 people that were murdered by the Iranians prior to the war? And then,
so wait, can I respond to that? Sure. Can I respond to that directly?
Sure.
Why would it not, if civilian death is disastrous as it relates to the Islamic Republic of Iran killing their own people, why would it not be disastrous for the United States to also kill Iranian civilians? If you acknowledge that civilian deaths,
well, then because we would theoretically be saving more, because the collateral damage would be less than the number of people we'd be saving from being murdered by their own regime. Obviously.
Except our military intervention has killed 1,700 Iranian civilians. We haven't saved anyone.
Oh, so we're only 5% of the way there in the same time period.
So your standard is as long as we kill under the amount that the Iranian government has killed of their own people.
I didn't say that.
We must.
I think 5%
this must be
is a pretty dramatic reduction, don't you think? It's dramatically less, right? And that's also not counting over time the thousand Americans that have died at the hands of the Iranian regime over the last 30 years.
So why exactly is that a standard, right? If we acknowledge that civilian deaths,
well, no, this is your standard. You're the one who said it was a disaster because 200 civilians died.
Yes, civilians that otherwise would have been alive.
Okay, so 40,000 civilians died in the interim. Why was it not a disaster that we let that happen?
It was a disaster we can say that was it was a disaster that happened, but there's no evidence that there's no evidence that our military intervention could have actually saved those people, because considering the fact we've now engaged militarily with Iran, we've engaged militarily.
We just have to let the Iranians murder everybody they want.
Well, putting aside, all right, hang on one second. Hang on one second. Will, when you last appeared on my show several weeks ago, you insisted the United States controls the Strait of Hormuz, which led to some ridicule heading back your way. Do you still believe America controls the Strait of Hormuz?
I think that control is contested. I think that's the best way to frame it. They can't get their ships out. We can't get our ships out.
Come on, Will. It's not.
Well, then why can't Iran get its ships out?
The Iranians are letting out ships. Why can't it get its ships out?
Will, are you saying that a U.S. Tomahawk missile striking an elementary school in Manab, Iran was not a disaster? Yes or no?
I mean, I'm saying it's a mistake and a tragedy.
So it was. Is it disaster?
That doesn't mean the entire
collateral damage.
Is it not a disaster to you?
You're even calling it a disaster.
Obviously, it's a tragedy that civilians died, right? Like the United States does everything in its power to avoid needless civilians.
Hang on, don't talk over each other, otherwise, unfortunately, we can't hear you. I mean, I do want to play a clip, Evan. This is where you highlighted Dave Rubin's lack of understanding about enriched uranium. Let's take a listen to some of this. Most people were shaking their heads at that point. Well, I will bring the others in. Don't worry.
So I think the central point that I made to Dave in that debate after I brought up the Iranian school children is that even if we just acknowledge, okay, civilian deaths happen in war, that's why war has to be a last resort. And if this war is about Iran obtaining a nuclear weapon, what preceded Iran getting to 60% enriched uranium? It was Donald Trump unilaterally withdrawing from the Iran nuclear deal
You have a
in
time
2018.
machine?
Iran did not enrich. Excuse me. Iran did not enrich past the 3.67%
yes or no?
agreed upon in the JCPOA. I'll finish my point and then you can speak. Iran did not enrich past the 3.67% agreed upon in the JCPOA until Donald Trump unilaterally withdrew from that deal. Iran is closer today. In fact, the IAEA actually came out just today on June 3rd. That Iran is actually more likely to pursue nuclear weapons. You've actually made the case for the Iranian hardliners that you can't negotiate with the Americans because if you come to a deal with the Americans, they'll just unilaterally withdraw from the deal. And if they attempt to negotiate again with the Americans, like they did in either the 12-day war or now, they'll just use negotiations as a ruse and attack you during negotiations. Iran is actually at a stronger negotiating point with their leverage when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz. And there's a reason why they are threatening to withdraw from negotiations. They have the leverage in the situation. There's no indication that we militarily have weakened their negotiating leverage point.
Okay, do you have a time machine?
No.
Right. Okay, so why is a terminated 10-year-old deal relevant to the decision to go to war in 2026?
Because Donald Trump uses. So I'll explain. I'll explain your question. You asked a question. I'll explain. Yeah. Because the administration uses the fact that Iran was enriching past the need for civilian use and up to 60% as one of the reasons cited as to indicate that they were pursuing a nuclear weapon. But they did not do that before Donald Trump unilaterally pulled out of that decision. So Donald Trump's unilateral decision.
So should we just ignore it?
Okay, but
because of Donald Trump's unilateral decision to pull out of that deal.
My question, Will, would be this:
it's obviously irrelevant.
Will, do you accept?
Will,
do you accept if the Iranians do not hand over the enriched uranium, and it's not seized by American or Israeli forces, and therefore remains in Iranian possession, that if the goal was to stop their nuclear ambitions, then the goal has failed? Do you accept that?
I think that basically that means that we have only partially succeeded in the goal because we have still set back their program with the overall effort, but we certainly haven't fully achieved it. And I think that's a pretty unsatisfying outcome.
Okay, let's go to the second.
I'm still having trouble understanding which story Will is adopting, because I've heard from so many different officials in the Trump administration. I mean, no longer Tulsi Gabbard saying that Iran was not pursuing a nuclear weapon. Marco Rubio
in that very testimony, she says that they have an enriched uranium stockpile.
Other Trump officials saying we were never in a war to begin with. This was a small military operation. Trump saying that we depleted their ability to build a nuclear weapon last year, and now it's saying that we have to increase the conflict to prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon. I just don't really know which story to buy when I'm hearing so many contradicting narratives from every member of the Trump administration. So which one do you adopt?
They're perfectly reconcilable. I mean, it just seems like you haven't really been paying very much attention.
So we both depleted their ability to build a nuclear weapon last year with Operation Warhammer, and now we have to do Operation Epic Fury to stop them from building a nuclear weapon again?
To prevent them from reconstituting their program, yes.
Donald Trump said that we destroyed their ability to last year. Were they already rebuilding?
Yeah, they were set back years.
In the weaponization
they
process?
wasn't permanently eliminated, but they were set back years, yes.
So where is your evidence that shows that we are entering into a new weaponization process?
There isn't. I mean, they're not going to do the weaponization until they're at a point where they would be in a position to immediately break out and do it. That's why you don't let people get to 60% enriched uranium. That's why literally the IAEA was freaking out in their most recent report. Like, should we wait until we have a nuclear bomb in Washington, D.C., and then hundreds of thousands of Americans could die? This is why your guys' position is so obviously facile. And, you know, why 25-year-olds in Los Angeles shouldn't be setting foreign policy for the United States of America. Like, obviously, you shouldn't just let
them. You know what? I would actually quite. I got to say, hang on. I've got to say, I would quite like a bunch of 25-year-olds to be running this Iran foreign policy right now. It would probably make more sense.
You guys lost the war of 1812,
more sense than the utterly confusing quagmire that we're now being dragged into with goalposts changing every 3 minutes. I want to move to...
I'm going to go ahead and leave it right there, but I'm going to leave a link in the description so you guys can go and watch the full interview. Will Chamberlain... Now, look, I'm going to give him something. the idea was for him to come on the show and prove that he's smarter than Dave Rubin. And he did accomplish it because Dave Rubin set the bar so low while still managing to concede on the ceasefire, walk back the Strait of Hormuz claim, and admit that the nuclear goal hasn't been fully achieved. And then lose his head towards the end of the clip and snap at a bunch of 25-year-olds when his facts run out. The bar was literally underground and he still scraped it. Now, the thing that these people have to understand is this. Donald Trump has completely eradicated any defense that it is that he has when the Iran nuclear deal was scrapped. That point makes absolutely everything devastating. Anything moving forward, Trump pulls out of the JCPOA in 2018 and Iran predictably start enriching past the agreed limit, and then Trump uses that enrichment to then try and justify a war in 2026. A war that it is that he manufactured and then is now trying to act as if Iran weren't following the JCPOA down to a T. But when you do any research whatsoever, so many bodies will tell you that Iran were following the JCPOA down to a T. There was. Inspectors were going in, research, and they were basically taking a look and they were seeing CCTV was everywhere. They were following the JCPOA. But because of Donald Trump's hate for Barack Obama, what he then done is he then withdrew the United States from the JCPOA. And as a result, because Iran aren't stupid, what did they start to do? They then started to enrich. And anybody that was smart enough, they would know that that's what it is that Iran would have done. It's common sense. That's the reason why Barack Obama went through and done the work that he'd done in the first place. That's exactly the reason. And the funny part is this. Republicans try and make fun of Barack Obama because he gave Iran money that was theirs to the tune of, I think it was like 1.4 billion. But guess what? Donald Trump is going to end up sending them billions upon billions because of the fact that he messed up when it comes to this war. Honestly, Will Chamberlain, he just about proved he's better than Dave Rubin, but still, the bar was so low that, in my opinion, he failed. And these guys know exactly what they're talking about. I'll leave a link in the description so you can go and check out the full exchange if you guys want. See you guys in the next one.